It is the 11th of July 2020. Good afternoon this Saturday. My name is Purity Museo. Welcome to Lunchtime News. And of course, today the country or the world is celebrating World Population Day. This coming at a time when the globe has people affected by coronavirus. Over 500,000 people have died from coronavirus pandemic, while more than 13 million have been infected by the virus. Therefore, Kamche Menza is joining us shortly, or now actually, from Times Towers, and she is speaking with the UNFPA country representative Ademola. Good afternoon to you, Kamche. These celebrations are coming at a time when over 500,000 people have died from coronavirus. Tell us the theme of this year and what the officials are talking about.
All right, Purity Museo, good afternoon to you right in studio. And like you said, today is World Population Day, coming at a time where the country and the world at large are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. And basically, there are so many things that have come about with the pandemic. One of the issue being the impact that it has had on women and children and girls and even the vulnerable populations like the older people. So today's World Populations Day under the theme of putting the brakes on COVID-19, specifically on how to safeguard the rights of girls and women that have faced the brunt of the COVID-19 effects. There are measures that are being put in place actually to ensure that this does not increase, or rather to try and reduce the effects and the impacts that this particular population, the girls and the women, are facing. But without much ado, joined by Mr. Ademola Olajide, who is the country representative for UNFPA. Remember, these are in partnership with the government to try and help in actually mitigating the impacts of the COVID-19 effects that are facing the girls and women in the country. So welcome, Sam. Maybe to start us off, how bad is the situation that governments in developing countries as well as the world have decided to focus on women, the rights of women and girls?
Well, thank you. The first thing is we need to know that under normal circumstances in most developing countries like ours, women and girls are starting off at a distinct disadvantage for various reasons. Now, the COVID pandemic has now come to exacerbate those vulnerabilities, increasing inequalities, and now deepening the fault lines. And so women and girls are actually bearing the brunt. And globally, we've described what we've called the shadow pandemic. What we are seeing in Kenya, though very undesirable, is not unique to Kenya. It's a global trend. And that's why the global community has decided that collectively we must act by looking at the rights and the health of women and girls.
All right. With that in mind, what are some of the measures that we are likely to see taking place, especially in the community?
From various levels, from the government to the community, everybody has to get a role. And so in the community, we need to press a reset button on our value system. We need to ensure that parents, individuals, and community structures that are there are enabled to be able to play their role. That would include that we, first of all, address issues of poverty and vulnerabilities, address the issues of livelihoods that have been impacted by COVID, but also provide some basic dignity items that allow people to be able to live their lives with the basic forms of dignity, provide them the life skills to be able to take the right decisions, and also the support systems that they would need to bring up their children and make the homes and the community a safe space for them.
All right. We have seen such policies and strategies being put in place. Where exactly, or what exactly have we been falling short on?
I think what has been a gap has been the difference between policy, implementation, and ownership by the community. Now, right now, it is obvious. This is not something that government will do for us. This is something we have to all do together. You will see the response to COVID. Government has been doing its own. Citizens are doing their own. We're wearing masks. We're washing our hands. We're using hand sanitizers. That's what you get when you democratize the solution. So we have to get to the point where the community collectively identifies that we have a problem and we begin to address it collectively, and everybody playing within their role and being enabled to play their role.
As a representative, how is this message going to reach the local Mwananchi in the village?
We intend to work through civil society organizations, those who are already in the village, and those who are already working with these communities and understanding the distinct vulnerabilities and the cultures of those organizations. What government needs to do is to ensure that these policies, as well at national level, are owned by county level officials, and they are also subjugated to community level structures. It has to go all the way down, and it must be owned by the people for the solutions to be sustainable.
Including the adolescents?
Adolescents have to know what their role is. They have a role. The young kids have a role. Indeed, when school health programs were fashioned out years ago, it was seen as an efficient means of improving the community's health, not just the children's health.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was Mr. Demola Olajide, who is the UNFPA country representative, of course, working in partnership with the government to try and address these issues. And what we have seen today, or what is being advocated for here, is a multi-sectoral initiative, communal engagements, and actually talking to even the adolescents themselves and the teenagers and women, actually to give them the way forward on this. So basically that's it. Purity Museo, from here, it's back to you in studio.
Men's are coming to us live from Times Towers, where Kenya is joining the world in celebrating the World Population Day, and this time round UNFPA and other agencies are fronting the issue of women and girls, and in that regard women leaders here in the country have opted to come out and speak about the cases of teenage pregnancies that have been making headlines in a few days, especially during this time of lockdown restrictions, and now that children are not going to schools. Cases of teenage pregnancies are said to be on the rise. Irene Muchuma Odim, coming to us again live from Langata, is speaking with nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve. Thank you so much, Irene. It's over to you. Tell us what the leaders, especially the women leaders, are saying in regard to these social ills being witnessed right now in our society.
Museo, good afternoon. We are in Langata, and it's a sorry state of affairs for the country now that we are not only fighting the pandemic on coronavirus, but then we are also taking care of teenage pregnancies that have come with the long holidays that had to come in place following the closure of schools after the first case of coronavirus was reported in the country. Approximately 150,000 pupils are said to have been impregnated, especially during this period that they have to stay at home. And now that the government has officially announced that schools will be reopened in January, there is a concern of the disabled persons in the society, and especially for the school-going children. And we are now engaging nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve to give us her take in regards to this, now that the society is facing an increase of teenage pregnancies. What is your take in this?
Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I want to say clearly that children do not belong to a school. Children do not belong to the government. Children do not belong to parents, but children belong to all of us. And we all have a duty to ensure that we are bringing a stop the issue of teenage pregnancy. And I want to say clearly that I want to clearly laud the president's proclamation that churches should reopen. This is because churches and religious institutions have a big role to play in the society. They help in ensuring that morals are upright for children, for parents, and everyone in the society. Now, when children get pregnant, especially our own daughters, our own girls, it is indicative that the society is rotting away. So I want to say clearly that we must have concerted effort to ensure that we are bringing this to a stop. And I want to say that religious institutions have a duty to continue instilling good morals to uncles, to parents, to chiefs, to leaders, and everyone else. Because when there's teenage pregnancy, it occurs within the vicinity of a home. And you'll find that people who are engaged in impregnating girls are people who are supposed to be caretakers of children. You'll find uncles impregnate girls, fathers impregnate girls, stepfathers impregnate girls, sometimes even chiefs impregnate girls. Like the other time when the president even came out clearly to say that the chief who was involved with this heinous act should be reprimanded. I want to say that we have to know that it is our duty as a society to ensure that we are safeguarding our girls, we are safeguarding our children, because our life depends upon our children. Now, I want to comment on the issue of children with disabilities. In as much as we have seen girls getting pregnant, the issue of girls with disabilities who have been impregnated has not come out. And yet, every now and then, girls with disabilities, children with disabilities get violated, get impregnated. There's need to ensure that we are also bringing out this data so that even people who do this are actually culpable. There's need to ensure that men who are involved in defiling our own children, in defiling our own girls, are brought to book. This is because children are still very innocent. They do not know so much. They do not even know about their reproductive health and all that. So there's need to also put in a teaching on this. And I want to also send a message to the society that even as we reopen churches and religious institutions, let church leaders ensure that they're embracing parents of children with disabilities, because these are parents who have been left out. These are children who have been left out in the society. So there's need to even have a kitty for them in all churches that are reopening. I'm putting this across to church elders, to church leaders, to religious organizations, that they need to set some money aside to ensure that they're embracing families of children with disabilities. And I also want to say that the Ministry of Education needs to look for a mechanism of ensuring that they're reaching out to even children with disabilities out there, because we have 6 months to go. Some learners have the benefit of getting information on the media, but most children with disabilities come from disadvantaged families. They're not able to get information on the media. Some of them do not have televisions. Some of them do not have mobile phones, but they can be identified. The Ministry of Education needs to identify schools of children with disabilities and see how to reach out to these families and ensure that they're actually supporting them in terms of food, in terms of basic needs, and in terms of physiotherapy, because there are some children also with developmental issues. And children with developmental issues, some of them have been going through physiotherapy when they were in school. But now that schools have closed, how are they being managed? Because the physiotherapy needs to continue, because we cannot leave away a significant group of people in the society. As Kenyans, we have to do something and ensure that we are addressing the needs of children with disabilities and persons with disabilities as well.
Thank you. That is Mheshimiwa Gertrude Musuruve, putting it in a nutshell. That is all about concerted efforts in ending the teenage pregnancies in the country, and also ensuring that the most vulnerable, the people with disability, are taken care of. Earlier on, I was able to engage her, and she says it's just about time that Kenyans adhere to the strict measures put by the Ministry of Health in combating the virus. And Purity is one that we also preach the gospel day in, day out. It's just a matter of us as a country to avert the spread of COVID-19. Museo.
Irene Muchuma Odim coming to us live from Langata, and she was speaking with nominated Senator Gertrude Musuruve, especially on the need to protect children living with disability. And she is asking the Minister of Health not just to settle, of Education rather, not just to sit back, but there is a need to follow up on these children, especially those that require some of these therapy sessions. Thank you, Irene, for that. We'll be getting a detailed report from what the women leaders are saying in regard to the social ills, and of course the extension of the closure or opening date for schools. Let's now take our first commercial break. Don't go, and where we have much more news from the counties and the globe. Stay with us.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. now, we'll take nothing for granted. And always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
The Atlas Lions of Morocco came to Maula Rambe Stars at Kasarani.
That one.
But wine still tamed by the Fabish boys in the 2002 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier.
Certainly this match is John Mayore playing that one's not into the area. It's in the net. Harambee Stars takes the lead in the 4th minute of the game.
We reminisce this match this Saturday at 5 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 in our determination to showcase our soccer finest.
Please don't tell me you shaved all my eyebrows.
Either one.
Can I take you somewhere?
You are so going on a date with Will Trainer.
It's too booby.
Get the red dress out.
I don't want to go in yet. I just want to be a man who's been to a concert with a girl in a red dress. A few minutes more.
Loving can heal.
I promised my parents 6 months, and that's what I've given them.
But that was before me.
I want him to live, but only if he wants to live.
We can't just let this happen.
You can't change who people are.
Well, what can you do?
You love them.
And if you hurt me,
I don't want you to miss all the things that someone else could give you.
I can make you happy. I have become a whole new person because of you.
Do you know something, Clark? You are pretty much the only thing that makes me want to get up in the morning.
wait for me to come.
You're watching Lunchtime News this Saturday afternoon at Thomas Halu. You're watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News, and Purity Ruto, you also tuned in. Tell us where you're watching Lunchtime News from. Women and human rights activists staged protest outside Maendeleo ya Wanawake offices in Mandera County to demand justice for a 14-year-old girl with mental disorder who was allegedly defiled by an officer from the National Police Reservist. The protest coming as Mandera Commissioner Onesmus Chadha issued a stern warning to area community leaders who are still resolving defilement cases using masla.
Following rampant defilement and rape cases in Mandera County, women and human rights activists are demanding commitment of the national and county governments to protecting girls in the region.
Sasa wamenyamaza kabisa. Msichana mama mzee akirepiwa, hakuna mahali wanaoenda, hakuna mahali wakienda hata maneno yao inasikilizwa. Kwa hivyo wamama wa mkoa region hii ya North Eastern wako na shida. Viongozi wa dini ya Islamu wamenyamaza. Viongozi kutoka serikali wamenyamaza.
Outside Maendeleo ya Wanawake offices in Mandera County, the women condemned the traditional justice system, popularly known as masla, which is being used by elders to resolve defilement cases, and instead advocated for a more stringent mechanism.
Juu kama ni honga pesa inalipwa, msichana akirepiwa kabila yake nafuata, wanalipa pesa, hana haki.
Tuko na viongozi ambao wamechaguliwa kama MCS, wabunge, women rep, hakuna mtu anaongea juu yake. Mandera rape case ikitendeka ni kunyamaza tu. Mambo ya maslaha itamalizika. Sisi hatutaki maslaha. Hata nini na nini akija, hatutakubali hiyo maslaha. Hiyo msichana yatima abate haki.
Meanwhile, Mandera County Commissioner Onesmus Chadha has issued a stern warning to area community leaders who are still practicing masla.
That's what we need to understand. Na hatutakubali because we are under very firm instructions from the head of state. Kitu inaitwa gender-based violence, violation of human rights, of women rights, rape cases, defilement, assault, all those cases. They have to be prosecuted and investigated with speed and concluded in court. hakuna kusikizana huko at the community level.
The other said he was closely monitoring a case where a National Police Reservist officer is accused of defiling a 14-year-old girl in Mandera town. The officer is out on 200,000 shillings bond and is yet to be arraigned in court. Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
And the country is mourning the death of popular Ohangla musician Maureen Achieng, commonly known as Lady Maureen. The singer died on Saturday morning in Uriri, Migori County, where she had been recuperating after she was discharged from hospital. ODM leader Raila Odinga on Saturday paid tribute to the late songstress, describing her as immensely talented and very dynamic musician who always adapted to new trends in a very competitive music industry.
In her prime, Lady Maureen was described as the queen of Ohangla, a low music genre that has become popular among many Kenyans. But on Saturday morning, the sun set on the life and career of the Luo music icon. Lady Maureen, who has in the last couple of months been in and out of hospital, passed on in Migori County. The news of her demise was met with reactions from all and sundry, among them ODM leader Raila Odinga. On his Twitter account, the ODM leader described the late musician as an immensely talented and very dynamic musician who always adapted to new trends in a very competitive music industry. Lady Maureen will be remembered for her tunes such as Alemo, Jogi Jukuoge, Raila, Gor Kogalo, and her final studio recording called Abiro Iri Nyasai, which loosely translates to I Am Coming to You, Lord.
Lady Maureen was not just any other artist, she was the queen of Ohangla, and most of these artists right now have passed through her hands, from Emma Jalamo, all these big artists, and Kevo Makawili, Benija Chiga, the late. This is the mother of Ohangla. She's the queen, and therefore losing her is a big loss for all of us and Kenya at large, both locally and globally in the diaspora.
Her demise comes barely a month after the death of another popular Ohangla musician, Benija Chiga.
May her soul rest in peace. The following report, viewer discretion is advised in the following report, where 7 members of a family from Kerera, location Kisii Central, have been hit by a rare disease they claim is yet to be diagnosed by doctors. The family, including a father and his 6 children, are now appealing for experts to unravel the nature of the disease, which has depleted the family's resources and forced them to survive on painkillers to manage the condition.
At the Kerera location in Kisii Central, Maurice Obonyo and his 6 children are struggling with the rare disease. With swollen legs, ulcerations and perpetual pain caused by the disease, the family says the children were born without any complications, only for them to fall sick when they were in class 7.
Mwili yangu ikaanza kufura, ikaanza kutoa kama maji. Sasa ikaanzia hapo, hata siwezi kutembea. Kukucha hapo nyumbani ngaona hakuna amani. Sasa yani siwezi lala hata hakuna usingizi.
Usiku, mchana, mpaka saa hii hakuna mtu ananisaidia. Nataka msaada.
The family, which has visited several hospitals, challenged experts to unravel the nature of the disease, claiming it's yet to be diagnosed by doctors.
Naenda ya hospitali, hakuna ugonjwa, naonekana, narudi nyumbani kila siku. Mpaka pesa, mpaka ng'ombe hapa mchia, naenda yote, hakuna kupona. Mpaka saa hii, msanga, angalia na macho tu, hakuna mtu hapa kusaidia pesa.
Having depleted the family's resources to stay in medication, the family, which is now seeking financial assistance, says it has been forced to survive on painkillers to manage the disease.
Naomba Mungu kwamba ngao wanakuwa nini wagonjwa hawasaidie alafu ndio niko nao peke yangu.
Wanasikia vibaya, kila jioni wanameza dawa tena dutu, wanalala, wanalia usiku mzima.
Ben Chumba reporting for Channel 1 News.
Such a sad report. They hope they'll get the help they much need. A teacher at Ngumbwa Primary School, located at the border of Kitui and Tana River counties, has transformed the face of a remote school to an ultra-modern facility using his own resources. Teacher Peter Mwema says he was sponsored by a non-governmental organization that helped him change the face of the depleted school. Parents from the area have lauded his efforts, saying their children can now enjoy the comfort of a habitable learning environment.
This is the new face of Ngumbwa Primary School, located at the border of Kitui and Tana River counties. Through the efforts of teacher Peter Mwema, the pupils now have a better environment for learning. Teacher Peter Mwema was deployed at Ngumbwa Primary School in September 2018 as the acting head teacher when the school was in a sorry state. The teacher says he got sponsorship from Jai Shri Ram organization, the education development project worth 16 million shillings, where he built 7 classrooms, 10 toilets and a borehole.
Watoto hawa walikuwa wanasomea wengine kwa miti huku na wengine unapata wanakaa kwa michanga.
Ndio Idhuka, a parent, lauded the teacher for the good work, saying his posting to the area was God sent.
Unajua huko kwetu ni maskini sana, watu hawana kazi. Sasa pesa ya kupata ili waweze kujenga hii shule ilikuwa na shida sana. Lakini mwalimu alipokuja sisi tukawa na furaha sana kumuona kwa vile alikuwa na malengo yake.
Elsewhere, the chairman of the Council of Governors, Wycliffe Oparanya, says counties must now stand to be counted in the war against the coronavirus pandemic. Oparanya says that though many counties are still struggling to equip their health facilities, they have to ensure that they are not caught flat-footed in the time of need.
The lifting of travel restriction has seen a mass exodus of people from Nairobi and Mombasa counties. With the roads now leading into the hinterland, there are fears of massive spread of the coronavirus across the country, with skyrocketing figures of infection in the last 2 days sounding an early warning.
What I've pleaded to my people here is that they should now avoid unnecessary movement. Stay at home.
Oparanya said counties must now prove that they have what it takes to combat a possible upsurge in coronavirus cases.
It is a big challenge for the county governments. By the president opening the economy, opening the movement, but also the challenge we don't have testing kits. Because testing kits is a responsibility of the national government.
Some counties are, however, still struggling to meet the basic requirement of at least 300 bed capacity in their COVID-19 designated health facilities, even as the government rules out shipping people from counties to Nairobi for treatment.
We now have to wrap it up here at Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for keeping us company. For more news, of course, you can log into our website, www.kbc.co.ke. And of course, on our subsequent bulletins at 7 and 9, we'll be giving you the latest, especially on the COVID-19 status in the country. The Minister of Health officials, led by CS Mutahi Kagwe, today they will be in Kwale County and will be coming to you live from Kwale. So stay tuned for that and much more. My name is Purity Museo, and Byron Abuli has been assigned language interpreter. Good afternoon and God bless.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET-approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design and soft furnishing, event